Welcome to our fourth episode of Synchronicity, the podcast where we know that nothing is a coincidence and thus everything is intentional. You are tapping into the root of the symmetry. I am your host, Trismegistus, broadcasting live from Mercury. You are tuned into the mind of Trip C, the trippy Trip C, here to bring some clarity as to why the medical industry is using my creation to practice all this medicine, to practice all this alchemy, to make so much money. Right? When we think about how much money the medical industry makes, it's unimaginable, right? Like basically they make money matter. And that's what this podcast is all about. How spirits use Hermeticism to create life so that they can build structures off of keeping you ignorant to being intelligently somatic. Because without knowing why the medical industry is using my creation to practice alchemy on you, then you may very well continue to trust them. The point here is, though, I, as Hermes Trismegistus, have not authorized the U.S. or any European medical institution, to use my caduceus to practice medicine. So the fact that you see the caduceus as such a prominent medical symbol, yet it's only able to be tied and authored to me, Hermes Trismegistus, there's no one else, all right? There's literally no one else, all right? The caduceus is mine. Therefore, only I can tell you what it represents and why other entities would be wanting to use it against you and use it to build their world. So, before we get into all that, we're about to chill and bop with our caduceus cannabis vibe. About to simmer my trees. About to relax a little bit. I will see you on the other side of this vibration as we build a whole new vibe nation. My soul's been crying. I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying. I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying so high. Through the astral plane, macabre brain, I built your game, we're not the same. My soul's been crying wild, those who listen heard, we make our vibe from deep inside. My soul's been crying while my mind's been flying back into my space, called away with haste, so I'll fall with grace to thrill my chase. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Water my earth, I know my worth, my soul gives birth to all my work. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying, so I can't connect with those you neglect. Time to correct how we reflect. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Who flood the sea with energy from my inner chi? I'm free to be me. I felt to inspire you to say how to fly higher too. Fly higher too. Hang out with the fam in your true spot. Don't be sad if you forgot that you've got a spirit strut and you're not true to this spot. Flip a script and break the facade. Take a trip and go abroad. When you're brave, they will apply. When you get in touch with your true God. I've been fighting. I've been vibing when I'm dancing with demons, reversing curses, they scheming. They be fiending for reasons to change the sins like the seasons. So I've been falling, cause y'all been calling my mind out of my spirit. I feel it best when I'm near it, but y'all cry for help and I hear it. So Hermes flies out to stare it in a new healthy direction. Will grow through natural connection. So I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C to level up like it's nothing, to turn into something, to bust into function, bumping and pumping with all the wisdom I'm gushing. And when I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C, I fell to inspire you. Simmer higher, I simmer in the skies, I triple in my chi, then I open up my eyes. I balance in my seasons. I mother the cohesion that keeps us intertwined. Symmetry, balance in my seasons, and I don't need a reason to fulfill my desires. Symmetries. So why is the US using my staff, using my caduceus to sell you medicine to benefit their medical staff? Why is the medical industry using this stick with 2 wings and 2 snakes all wrapped around it to peddle all of these new substances that they've alchemized from nature? There's a lot of ways that I could go on this. So again, just know, I'm saying again, just know this isn't scripted. None of these podcasts are scripted. So I have the general gist of what I want to get into. The point is that we're both tapping into the mind of Mercury. All right. When I'm in my conscious awareness, me being able to sit down and do this podcast is rejuvenating for me to be able to tap into my spirit and let it communicate unfiltered through my body, instead of my body being limited to focusing and paying attention to what's in the world already. So this is me literally getting to bring whole new information from my soul into the world. So as a spirit who has single-handedly authored the caduceus, just like I've single-handedly authored Hermeticism, the caduceus is no different. That's mine. That's an expression of my spirit, and it's an expression of what we all do. So the caduceus, if you haven't seen it, you almost certainly have at this point, but look it up, right? It's the staff, long straight stick. It's got a nice ball at the top. It's got 2 wings feathering from below the ball, and there are 2 snakes coiling up around it in like a vortex type scenario. So it's like a snake tornado just coiling up around a staff, and then there's wings blossoming out the top. And there's a lot of meaning to it. It's very simple, but it's gonna get long, as I already see as I'm getting into it. So before I get into what the symbol actually is, it has been used by the US government to sell medicine for centuries. Over a century. Centuries? It's been used by European medicine for centuries, and Europe has become the US, of course. So it's just that timeline. The fact is, Europe has been obsessed with me as Hermes and using my creations to do their thing, because that's all they kind of know how to do, is to colonize and consume other people's things and then use it to do their own thing. So this is why we're literally in a time where the medical industry can ignore spirituality, but they're going to use the creation of a spirit to tell you to ignore spirituality. So many people very well just not believe in me as Hermes, not believe in me as the creator of the system that they believe in, but they believe in the system because the system is there physically. And then that's like, I guess, the complete definition of someone being lost in physical reality. That even if they're like standing looking at the building and they see the caduceus, and I'm here like, hey, these entities have specifically colonized it from me because their intentions are negative. If you're lost in light, you're not going to care.
You're not even going to care about the symbol that these people are using to make their structure matter. And that's where true ignorance is. People who don't care about signs and symbols and the fact that everything means something. Again, you're just ignoring the hermetic facts of life. So if a spirit is using something to trap your attention, like a story in a movie, for example, then everything that's happening in that movie is like esoterically important, and it's all a vibration at that point. And for a spirit to use the truth to tell you that the truth is not real is, well, the ultimate form of capitalism, the ultimate form of how the medical industry has been thriving using my caduceus. So they have been using my staff mainly, like if we're going to say the logical reason, their logical reason would be that Hermes is the god of, well, I mean, I'm about to say communication, which then boils into everything. Like, because everything's communication. So as far as being the god, the messenger god, and then the god of alchemy, and then the god of medicine, and then the god of commerce, that's where the US would be calling upon my caduceus, Europe would be calling upon the caduceus to push medicine. And originally, historically, it started out as being focused on alchemy. Now we see that it's more so about commerce. So these entities are using my caduceus to weaponize the fact that spirits are healthy. We create health by alchemizing elements from nothing into something. And then that's a whole science of just chemistry or alchemy. And that's what the caduceus is all about. It's about alchemizing your nothing into something. And this is then where I have to say the caduceus is representative of your spine. So I made the caduceus to represent the human spine and represent the spine of animals in general, but this is specifically applicable for us as humans here in terms of the kundalini energy, right? And raising our serpents up through our spine and keeping everything aligned, decolonize your face, and creating that space in our face, right? So our spines can actually be straight and energy can properly flow. It's about knowing that we are creating our bodies, we're creating structures because we desire to communicate our nothing into something. And that is then where the structure that we've created is thus animated and operated by our nothing into something. And our nothing into something is our mind. So our something is our body. Our nothing into something is our mind. Our nothing is our spirit. And everything that we imagine is our God. Because like everything is coming from our imagination. And how we feel about that is our soul. So your mind is a combination of your imagination and your soul coming together. And it's constantly making something from nothing. And the more consistently you communicate in a certain way, you create nothingness that then creates a body. It builds structures that supports your desire to communicate whatever you've got going on. So that's the point of the caduceus and me making it to represent your body, and thus why I use it to relay messages throughout simulations. Like just all realms and realities, I'm flying from my simulation of Mercury into other simulations, into other spaces, for lack of better words, realms and realities, to relay whatever I got to relay. I mean, again, like I got into in the last episode, I get called away from my space when a simulation wants me to teach Hermeticism. It's basically that simple. Because Hermeticism is what these entities, as we're talking about with the medical industry, have been using to enslave everybody. They're using spirituality to keep everyone ignorant and dumb so that they can then capitalize on your chi. And this is a phrase that I've come up with within the last year as I've started to develop all this, because that's what it is about. capitalizing on your chi. And your body is your ability to capitalize on your chi, aka you're making money out of yourself, out of your own ability to communicate. That's what your body is. Your mind, your muscle is money. You are making how you change matter. That's what money is. So that's the point of any structure. And that's why all structures are changing. Everything in life is transforming. It's just as spirits, we are constantly making how we transform matter. And that how is the pain. That's the water. And the transformation is us being in that water cycle, but we want to stabilize it. So that takes communication, which is why we're always communicating if we are aware and experiencing something. And thus, anything that we're observing is going to be polarized, because that's us being the observer, seeing that life is created from the combination of fire and water. And, it's lit. All that stuff like we talked about in the last episode. So, the medical industry is using the caduceus historically because I, as the god of alchemy, am all about teaching Hermeticism to spirits, to everyone, sharing the wisdom of how we create our bodies because we feel like connecting our nothingness to something. And then that looks like all the elements and all the science that I bring all the logic to. And the whole point of me bringing logic and everything with these words is so that we can know that we're infinitely individual. This is why I hate being worshipped. I hate people giving me their power. It's one of the ugliest things when those girls, those cults, those women, whatever, those sex fiends, those demons, those witches. Joke your way out of the tragedy. No one is ever going to understand how much turmoil and pain I've gone through being worshipped. It is not fun. It's not positive. It does not feel good it's not good. It's just not positive. It's not fun. It's not helpful. It's not productive to get worship, to get attention from people like you can save them. So that's why symmetry, the idea of like me as a superhero and me just learning about myself, I'm like, well, I don't want, like, you can't save people. I know you can't save people. And that was just, again, like this subconscious knowing of who I am, knowing that we create life in some way. So to save someone is just you stepping out of your space to connect with someone else, instead of you learning that that was a way that you should have connected with yourself more consciously. Because everything that we see in the world, right, this is why white supremacist colonizers are so lost, because they want to constantly consume everything that indigenous peoples create, so that they can then use those creations to tell indigenous peoples that they're not creative. And then they think that that's them being God. And this is what progress is. This is what the future is going to be. And it is the just complete symptom of a spirit wanting to control everything outside of themselves because they have no control over their insides. And this is why white supremacists use my caduceus. This is why the medical industry is using my caduceus, and they're going so hard using it, yet they will surely deny that Hermes is a real guy. Like, they'll use an idea that was created by me as a spirit, but they're going to use that idea to say that I as a spirit am not real. And that's how they're going to make money. All right. So that, like, that's white supremacy, bro. It's wild. Like, white supremacy is literally just the epitome of a spirit being like, okay, I'm going to use light to do what I want. And what I want to do is hurt other people and make them feel like they need me. So I'm going to go out of my way to hurt others. And then after I hurt them, I'm going to create the situation where they need me. And that's the medical industry, right? You can watch The Boys. The Boys, as in that Amazon show, is fire. It is perfectly summing up what the medical industry is. Because this is where it gets deep. I'm about to get a little deep. Let me simmer some more trees. This is why I'm here to teach fasting. And why it's so important that we fast diligently. Because the medical industry, the Industrial Revolution, the industry, the entities that are using my caduceus to practice medicine are the ones who are actively spreading chemicals and poisons into the environment, because it is the byproduct of their alchemy. So when, again, we know that spirits use elements to create life, and that's what alchemy is, and that's everything we talk about in Hermeticism and Semitism. The white supremacist version of that is saying, yeah, no alchemy. Actually, it's this new branch that we made up where we're now going to create a bunch of elements, and we have 100 things on a periodic table, and they're all different, and now we're smarter than the past, when literally it's just a bunch of made-up logic that's actually blocking the flow of life. And this is why science is infinitely unintelligent, because they're just actually making up logic from like the wrong perspective, the wrong foundation, from just the wrong awareness. Like they're working from the bottom up instead of the top down, right? So, I mean, perfect example is them trying to figure out, how did I build the pyramids? How did Hermes build the pyramids? How did Thoth build the pyramids? They must have had slaves. They moved rocks together. How did they move all those rocks together? No, that's a projection of your mind. You use slaves. You enslave indigenous peoples to build your stuff with rocks. We build our structures happily, healthily, and harmoniously, hermetically, from our homes, from our hearts, from higher dimensions. Which is why they're just so in accordance with the natural simulation. Because there's the point of knowing that life itself is us alchemizing nothing into something. And the more you can be in tune with the fact that spirits are creating life around you all the time, that's where magic comes in. And then that's where the power of being a true magician, being a true alchemist is. And this is why I made symmetry. This is why I just love being me, genuinely. I can't not be me. I can't not be this expression. Like, this is what I've created these things to express myself. No one knows a caduceus like me. It's impossible for me to be here making things up. I actually have to censor myself, because I'm pretty sure most people won't understand the things that I would really like to explain in terms of how deep this stuff goes. But the point is, I'm here to keep it simply symmetry, simply balanced. Not too complex, but not too simple, so that we can all get it and build upon it. That's the point. Air needs to be balanced so it can settle into the structures, right? So Hermes needs to be balanced so he can settle into Thoth. Hermes needs to be symmetry so he can settle into Tahuti. So let me get a little more balanced in my symmetry as I symmetries. Because this is what I do. I'm Chase Callaway for a reason. I get called away from my space to help. And if I'm not getting called away from my space to help, then best believe I'm alone in my space. Like, that's the point of being hermetic, a hermit. And this is, again, I'm the natural expression of myself. I have to be me. You feel me? Just like you have to be you. This is why I'm the messenger of God in all lifetimes. Because it's just, even in this situation, right, where no ego, I made up a whole new character called Symmetry, just for me to find out that it's only the progression of what I've been doing, and it can't be anything but. You know, so that's the inevitability of spirit. As a spirit, when you express yourself, all you're going to do is learn about who you are as an individual. And we are all separate in our imaginations. None of us have the same imagination. That's the point of us even expressing ourselves. Now, when we want to feel like we're part of one imagination, that spirit's being polarized then. They're like, okay, wait, I'm not an individual, I'm part of a collective. So now they're completely serving another individual. And this is where the one God thing comes in. And the whole idea of like, oh, we're all one universe, we're all one. See, like that Billy Carson guy, so many people out here. Shout out Billy Carson, by the way. Shout out, everybody. I love all of you. It's just so sad how lost everyone is. In that, like, we're actually all we're all different fragments of consciousness. And we're just playing out one entity's wet dream of fighting itself. Bro, like, I remember playing with those concepts before my spirit straight up woke me up. And I would get so angry. So I remember that stuff, and I'm supposed to channel that anger right now. That really pisses me off. The idea, and people like really believing it, that we're all one consciousness. So you're saying none of us have any individuality. Like, none of us have free will. I'm not choosing to be here. I'm just an extension of something that I'm unaware about because you told me. So really, because you're the one who made me aware that I'm part of something that I'm unaware about, I should actually be worshiping you. And that's just more white supremacist shit. That's more of that science stuff, bro. Like, where they're like trying to be like, actually, don't worship anyone. You're part of one God. But then the fact that this person had to tell you that you're part of one God, now you feel like you need to connect to them to be more of that God. Like, oh, well, clearly they have the answers. Science knows what's up. They're the ones who told us. They told me that we're all one consciousness. Everything's energy. All right. So the next episode and the episode after this, I'll be getting into numbers and elements, and then we'll get into letters and everything. In terms of everything that I've covered in my series, in the building blocks of life and dissect the dialect, but making it all nice for podcast form, because this is why I'm here. Everyone's lost. Everyone's lost in light. People don't know that they, as a spirit, are creating themselves every second. And your creation is your communication. And that is what allows people to see you. And it takes me saying this. It takes me being Chase Clarence Calloway to ride the frequency of the sea frequently to be able to get this message out for everybody. And that's why I love fasting. Fasting allows me to be faster. Fasting allows my vibration to be higher so I can ride the frequency of my true nothing spirit. Because that's the thing, when the medical industry is using my caduceus to tell you that the base of the food pyramid is sugar. Oh, bro, like, I really grew up in that. I really grew up in a school system that's teaching me, hey, the foundation of food is grains. Straight up sugar. Straight up carbohydrates. They manufacture sickness inside of all of us just by making the foundation of the food pyramid grains. I promise. The whole point is to get everyone addicted to sugar and to get everyone in lower vibrations so that they're not able to actually ride the frequency of their spirit. They're now forced to ride the frequency of their body, and their body is at the whim. It's being controlled by the white supremacist monetary money systems that are telling it that it can kill it if it doesn't serve said system, right? So now all these people, because they're trained by the system that is enslaving their minds to eat all day, every day, they are in like a Stockholm syndrome scenario of being addicted to the poisons that their captors are forcing upon them. And they don't know that there's something better because they're just not connected with themselves. They're not connected in their own spirit, in their own space. And thus they don't know that they're actually able to create heaven. And the point then of connecting with others is actually to bring heaven into hell. And this is why Hermes, when I'm alone, I'm in heaven. I'm Symmetry when I'm in hell, when I'm with you. When I'm with you, I'm in hell. When I'm alone, I'm in heaven. And that's all of us. So all of us as spirits, when we're all alone, we're in heaven. That's our home. Your home is your haven, your heaven. And then when you feel like connecting with others, that's where heaven becomes hell. Because now you have to compromise. Now you create the sea. Now you create water. Now you have to cool down. You can't be too hot. Hermes is too hot for this world. Hermeticism is too hot for relatability. All right, so many people can't stand hearing me talk too much about Hermeticism because it triggers them in terms of like, wait, but I didn't create the situations I'm in. Like, all right, well, here's Cynicism. Cynicism is knowing that life is hermetic, but how do you feel about that? And this is where Cynicism is about connecting and communicating with your spirit. with the tools that you have right now. And this is where life transforms. If you can just meditate, if you can just chill out, get some clarity, and calm your mind down, and realize that you are nothing, and then connect with that nothingness. I'm like literally just smiling bigly right now as I'm connecting more with my spirit. Life is way better. That's a perfect way of how you would start writing your own frequency. So this is what the caduceus represents, by the way. The caduceus, the wings at the top, are literally about your mind. And how when you take your serpents, so your serpents are your ability to have sex. Your snakes are your sex. When you take that and go inside of yourself, so instead of focusing on the outside and focusing your attention on all these other things and how you want to have sex with this next thing and this outside thing, you want to connect with this thing, because that's what sex is, right? You want to connect. You want to be inside of and get pleasure from connecting, because that's the ultimate desire that drives all life, as we can see. We're all only in human bodies because other humans had sex. Animals are only animals because animals had sex. So life is constantly created from us having sex. It's just about, are you having more sex externally or internally? The caduceus is all about internal sex. Again, this is hermetic. Only I can tell you this. The caduceus is all about having sex inside of yourself and bringing your serpents into your own space, which is actually what creates, which we'll get into in the dissect the dialect portion of this podcast, ST ability. If you haven't watched Dissect the Dialect, definitely check that out. Have it on the website. Have it in a very nice page. We have it in the first, just like a nice alphabet go through of how spirits use the English alphabet to architect simulations. And then we have the next phase, which is the cycle of three. And the cycle of three is how spirits build structures by going through this certain mathematical process over and over. And this is what we're all doing on a subconscious level. I'm just bringing words and titles to it so we can do it more consciously. And then after we get through that cycle of three, of how that then manifests in the alphabet, because we can see then that each three letters in the alphabet is going to repeat the ways that spirits use this element structure to create life, which is fire, water, air, fire, water, air, fire, water, air. So all earth that you can see, because everything you can see is earth, like it's a box. Anything that you can see is the earth. It's created from fire, water, air, fire, water, air, fire, water, air, fire, water, air, fire, water, air. And that's all expressing nothing. So this is why everything's spiritual. And it's just about fire being that awareness, and then water being the reflection and connection with one's awareness, and then air being the expression and balance of that, so it can settle into something practical and stable, which is then where we create light that becomes matter or dense, heavy, flesh material over time, because time is us waiting in the connection. So the more we feel like connecting with something, the more time we give it, and then the heavier that connection gets, right? That's how all relationships work. That's what life is. This is what we're doing all the time. We're in life building connections with people, and best believe, right, the longer you wait in a connection, the heavier it gets. Relationships don't get lighter the longer they go, do they? I've never seen it. I've never seen it. The only way that a relationship gets lighter is if both parties forget what happened. If they literally forget the memories. And that's where we get lifetimes into play, right? So that's the whole point of you having multiple lifetimes. If you remembered everything that happened in all your past lifetimes, you would not have the chance or the opportunity to begin anew with certain spirits. Because you could genuinely have a super beautiful relationship with one spirit. like 3 lifetimes ago. But because you hadn't grown, or you guys weren't developed in certain ways, and you had like different desires and feelings, you split off. And if you decide to like stay cut off from that relationship forever, then you're not going to be able to create this circumstance where you connect with them in a future lifetime. And that's basically like, I mean, the point of then this lifetime. When you think about the people in your life, you very well have much deeper connections with all of them from past lifetimes that you want to build upon. So you are forgetting. And this is where we forget to forgive. So spirits, as we create lifetimes, we do this thing where we forget our memories so that we can forget things that allow us to forgive things. So like if like someone in the past lifetime, they cheated on you and you're super upset that they cheated on you and you're like, I hate them forever. But they could have been your soulmate and they could have just cheated on you to like teach you something. And it was the only way that they got out of that circumstance, right? And then that's where you as a spirit, you are learning more about yourself based on your whole obsession with the idea of cheating. And the idea, literally, like that's all it is then, an idea. Like you're labeling how spirits communicate around you. That's all we're doing, lifetime after lifetime. We're all communicating, but then we make up these labels. So we're using light to communicate. And then we create light to categorize how we're communicating, because we have to make sense of what we're doing, right? So like it's easier for all of us to hang out and talk if we're not just vibing without using words, right? Because like when we use words, when we actually solidify our vibrations into energy, we can better connect with each other based on acknowledging each other's individuality, right? So we all have a heartbeat. That being said, I'm not you. Like just because we both have beating hearts and we're both in a human body with pumping blood does not mean that we are the same. So I have a name. It's Chase Clarence Calloway. You have your own name. Every other human with a beating heart has a name. And that's us using energy to balance and express our individuality inside of a vibration that is allowing us to connect what is actually separate, which is all of our frequencies. One frequency cannot touch another frequency. And the fact is, then it's right there in the word as far as getting somatic with it. Frequency. Whatever you frequently see is your imagination. And no one can see your imagination. I've never gotten that before. This is lit. That's why I like making art. Because, I mean, look, I am this, like, I know I am this spirit. It's just literally about translating everything that I've been and seen and gone through and felt and experienced into English. So that then it's more easily processable as Chase, and thus then way more easily processable for everyone that Chase is connected to, which right now looks like this world, planet Earth. So the caduceus is about how we as spirits vibrate at a certain frequency to create the energy that allows us to ground how we have sex. And so the caduceus is used by the medical industry because I am the god of alchemy, I'm the god of medicine, I'm the god of commerce, I'm the god of communication. And India loves it because it's all about the Kundalini. And this is, of course, again, just all linked the same to me as the messenger of God. It is about us using our snakes, our serpentine energy, to not go outside of ourselves. Don't use your S to sting other people. Don't use your silver serpentine tongue to sting other people. I'm just thinking of the times in my life when I said things that I definitely got too sharp, to Virgo. Again, like with me as a Virgo moon, especially like Virgo moon, Gemini ascendant, and honestly Taurus sun. Tauruses can get mean when they have to be. So honestly, I'm pretty sure I have the 3 sassiest zodiac signs, and not sassiest. What's a better word? Cold and calculated. The coldest, most calculated zodiac signs together literally would, it would be Gemini, Virgo, and Taurus. Especially that Virgo and Gemini. Like, I am ruthless. And anyone that can handle me getting super negative with them is my best friend. Because know that it's not personal. Like, if I'm talking to you super negative, know that it's because I'm showing you a part of myself that I don't show most people. And that's because, and then that would then be because like I'm feel closer to you. Now as a Virgo, right, that's kind of, it can seem backwards, but this is how Virgos love. Straight up, this is how Virgos love. Virgos, being mutable earth, they want connections that they can get as deep and negative with as possible. And then just keep building from there. Because if, for us, for me, whatever, but for a Virgo, for me as a Virgo, it makes me feel like I understand the person way more. Like, this is kind of like why I love Mercury, and just like communication in general. It's about like having the most open communication. And when people are focused on being positive or being like light and loving, like that's really just a projection. Like, so whenever I'm like being negative and stuff, it's like never mean. And that's the point. Like, it's always from love. But if people are loving something that's keeping them comfortable and killing them, then yeah, what I express is going to seem me, because I am saying things that are detaching them from whatever light logic was filling up their ego. So I have to strike my proper balance with all of that. Just know, the caduceus, the point is that you don't use your snake to sting other people. You don't use your snake to have sex outside of yourself, because that is unsustainable. The most sustainable thing to do is to have sex with yourself. Pleasure your own spirit. Connect with yourself. That is what's going to build your tree. That's what's going to build your tea. Your ST ability, your stability, comes from how frequently can you vibe with yourself. Can you vibe with your own inner G? Your inner G, the G being the 7th letter of the alphabet, is the ego. So the more frequently you can vibe with your inner G, the more you're going to create your own stability. You're going to create your own stability tree. And that tree itself is the garden that gives life to the world around you, because you're literally building the world around you. So it's like, that's the paradox then. Not paradox, but the link between building a life and knowing that that life is only possible because you want it to be something other than nothing. So you can get lost in the somethings that you made, but the point is that you created that opportunity for yourself. And then that's of course like why Cynicism is more relatable than Hermeticism, but it's about getting people to have their power, knowing like, okay, life is hermetic. I am creating my circumstances, but I'm in a somatic situation where I'm connected with other spirits, so I'm not in control of how other spirits connect with me. I'm not in control of how other spirits communicate or view me. I'm only in control further of myself. Again, this is why I'm here. Here we are with our podcast. You're leveling up really hard right now. Congratulations, because this is what it's about. Stability, ST ability, your ability to have sex with yourself so that you can create your own garden of Eve in that case, your own tree of knowledge, right? So you look at the Bible, you see that snake on the tree telling Eve to eat the fruit of knowledge. That's, imagery that is pulled from me, by the way. It's not directly correlated, but the point is that the Bible is talking, it's weaponizing Hermeticism right there. It's weaponizing what I've authored, and it's demonizing it. The Bible is taking Hermeticism and teaching you not to gain wisdom. This is amazing. Like, I did not know that before. I'm literally, thank you, Spirit. Like, I really just get to, I'm on some wild. That's lit. Because, yeah, when I'm just, like, here talking, like, I'm just kind of being a conduit for myself. I'm tapping into stuff and translating. That's the point of this podcast. We're doing it for all of us. It's communication, teamwork, making the dream work. That's remarkable. So the Bible in the beginning, the whole snake and the Garden of Eve, that is ripped from Hermeticism. I mean, most of the Bible is ripped from Hermeticism. So it's stolen from me as the messenger of God. And that's why I had to play the role as Enoch. Because again, it's just about me consistently participating so that the truth is always clear. I am the truth. I relay the truth. I'm the God of truth. If there's anything that I am, it is the God of truth. That's the only message worth relaying. All right, so that's how it coincides. I'm the messenger of God. I'm the God of truth. I'm relaying the message of truth. What is the truth? You're creating life. It's everything we're already talking about here. The truth is your tea. Truth is what makes lies matter. Right? Life is a lie. Your life is a lie. Death is the truth. Death is what makes life matter. Nothing in life would matter if there was no truth. And what's the truth then? Truth is transformation. All that T energy, time. Things transform over time. Because the way that we feel like connecting with each other changes. Again, it's about this awareness of knowing that you are alchemizing your nothingness into something so that you can connect with other somethings. It's just then when you're connecting with other somethings, you are limited to connecting with others based on how well they're able to perceive and connect with you. So this is why it's really important to protect your energy. And to, in general, the most stable thing is to have sex with yourself. Don't take your snake out of your space and have sex with others. All these snakes are out here stinging, sliding into gardens, having sex with other spirits, but then they have nothing to show for it because they didn't actually make their own garden. So yeah, I didn't realize that. Way to go, Irisel. Thanks, Spirit. The Bible is literally weaponizing Hermeticism right in that first part with the story of Adam and Eve, and subconsciously using the snake around the tree and using the idea of the snake around the tree giving you knowledge to make you scared of that, to make you scared of being intelligent, to make you scared of being a rebel, basically. I mean, that's literally like the whole point of the Bible. They literally just took my Hermetic philosophies. They're like, all right, we're going to use this to brainwash everyone and make sure that they follow the rules. So the point of Hermeticism is that you are creating rules so that you can agree to play with other gods. That's the point. But white supremacist gods, right? These white supremacist Judeo-Christian systems will then take my teachings of how we create rules so that we can agree to play, and then they're like, well, we actually want to make an infinite amount of money and slavery and spread a horrible genocide off of making our game the only game to play. Thus, we're going to create a system that tells you that there is one rule and you're supposed to follow it. And here's a whole story of how bad things happen when people didn't follow the rules. And then that's literally the whole Bible. Like, that's literally the whole Bible. Like, oh my gosh. It says, spirits taking Hermeticism and being like, okay, so we all agree to rules so we can play together. Well, we want to be absolutely vile in how we abuse children. So let's create a system where we teach them that they need to worship and follow us because they're horrible when they're alone. And then that's where, like, I remember being a child crying. I'm about to cry now just thinking like how much little Chase cried from being forced to read the Bible and have these words projected in his space of how he's unworthy without Jesus. He's unworthy without all these extra things, how he's of sin. I remember crying so much and being so sad and depressed. Like, wow, like, I'm really this awful? And it's just amazing, like, really reflecting back and looking on that. Yo, poor little Chase. And the whole point is now I get to be here like, wow, no, Chase, you weren't horrible. Of course not. Of course not. I as a child am not full of sin. The people who want to make money off of enslaving me inside of school are the ones who are full of sin, and thus are going to project into me that I am, so that they can make money off of making me feel bad and feeling like I need to connect with them when they're using my creations to colonize my space. This life is trippy. But all life is trippy. Life is psychedelic. I love psychedelics. Life is psychedelic. If there's anything that life is, it's psychedelic. This is why I am a psychopomp. Alright, it's all Greek in that way. Psychedelic, psychopomp. Psychedelic, psychopompic symmetry with his caduceus. So, the caduceus is your body. The caduceus is your spine. I use the caduceus to fly around and relay messages because it amplifies my chi, just like in general, your human spine is constantly channeling your chi so you can communicate right now. That's the point. And then this is why it's important to get into our Decolonize Your Face course, because again, it's bigger than your face. It's really decolonize your body. It's really decolonize your spine. It's about decolonizing your tree trunk. Okay, because the spine is your tree. And the caduceus represents your tree and your spine. That's what the snake is. The snake, your kundalini, is wrapping up your tree. It's wrapping up your spine. It's allowing you to grant more space for connection. And that's in general what your body is. How many cells are connecting inside of your body right now without you being aware of it? Right? Like, that's the fact that you are operating this body is you already creating a whole universe where now all of these organs, all these spirits, all these entities who are creating your structure, who are creating your temple, can connect with each other. And then we're inside of Earth, right? So now we know that climate change is an issue because the way that humans have been connecting here is not in harmony with how they're supposed to. So it's all about the consciousness of nature. This is why I've been passionate about climate change my whole life. And I can reflect back and see like, oh, okay, right. I was at 5 years old thinking about that because I literally materialized a body here for this mission. Like, I can see, like, the whole point is my soul being my water is all that my mind is coming from. And my main soul that I'm operating from is to solve climate change in this lifetime. And yeah, it's going to look like a lot of ways because the whole point is that it's only going to happen through all of us changing the way that we communicate. It's literally that simple. And when I say solve climate change, I just mean, no, that's the intention. That is the intention. And more specifically, what's actually realistic would be me creating, investing, making technology possible that cleans the environment and being hyper focused on that. Using all my spiritual, everything that I'm doing here to bring it into technology that cleans the environment instead of all this white supremacist industrial technology that has been polluting it for centuries. Right? So I'm here to reverse all that. Glad to be here with you, communicating and everything. It's lit. The medical industry is really here using my creation to colonize your body. because they're hyper focused, hyper obsessed with poisoning people, with spreading toxins into the environment so that they can create issues that then they can make money claiming to solve. And it's just all about how spirits, if they're going to connect with you, they need to be the one who's solving your problem. So I, as Hermes, am so infinitely happy and abundant alone. And it's because I'm so happy and abundant alone that I built Mercury and build Mercury. I mean, I say build really because it is like a constant process. I build Mercury because I care so much about sharing my gifts with the world, with the universe. And then that's where Mercury is the simulation that any simulation can call upon for help in their awakening, for help in leveling up in whatever ways that they need to level up in. And that's where then I step out of my space, and now I'm here relating with spirits on their level and doing the do. It's lit. All because I love myself, though. Like, if I did not love being alone, it wouldn't be possible for me to do this. Like, if I didn't love being alone, it would not be possible for me to connect with myself in a way that actually gives value to the universe. And this is why the big element, like the main element of Hermeticism, one of the main elements, but the main element, I would say, is self-love. Desiring yourself. And the paradox here, again, like, because we're in a world where people know, like, oh, self-love, important. But, right, it's not actually Hermetic until Hermes is here teaching it himself. True Hermetic self-love is loving your spirit, loving your nothingness. And that is what then becomes having sex with yourself, connecting with your own space so that you can create your own garden, create your own simulation, create your own life that actually expresses how much you love yourself. And then this is where self-love actually creates a beautiful, loving life. Because when you love yourself so much that you are able to connect and communicate that to your own spirit, then that's what allows you to create a life that is worth loving. And then other people want to connect to your life as well because they love it, right? Then this is how spirits connect. This is how you make a body. This is how you make a heart and your organs, just all the intestines and the brain and the bones and everything. It's about spirits connecting and one spirit loving themselves so much that they're like, I'm going to connect like this. And then other spirits are like, yo, I love what you're doing. I would love to connect with you like that too. And then literally you build a body. Like, that's how you just slowly build a body over time in your mom's womb. It's like, okay, I'm connecting like this. And then your cells start to be like, okay, I love myself so much. Here's my heart. My heart is the first expression of how much I love myself, right? This is why the heart is the organ of love. Boom, your heart, you make it, you love yourself. Everything from there is all the cells that love you loving yourself. So your whole body is made up of cells that love you, possibly more than you love yourself, bro. If I'm going to be real, everyone needs to love their bodies way fucking more. Because chances are, like, actually, I'm about to cry right now. See, this is, I didn't really think about that, but no, like, your body loves you more than you love yourself. This is why every time you want to die or you get stressed out, your body doesn't just die. You feel me? Because your body's like, hey, even if you're not here for you, we're here for you. Because literally the vision that you want to express in this world, we love it. We support that. And then this is why spirits, as nothing, we are our ideas. So the caduceus is my idea. The caduceus is my expression of my spine. It's my expression of my body. It's my expression of how my earth is animated by my air so that my spirit can matter. So that my nothingness can become somethingness. And now we can all connect and relate upon it. So then white supremacists steal it and turn it into all this gross climate change causing industrial garbage that we're dealing with today. Bleh. So, let's go a little deeper. The caduceus, what happens, this is where the Merkaba comes in. So this is like my lifetime is Metatron and Enoch. Again, it's all now, so it's all just my soul. It's who I am. The Merkaba is the Jewish term for like the geometric structure that represents your mind. So in Judaism, they call it the chariot of God, because you as a spirit are sitting inside of your mind so that you can fly outside of yourself. So when Jews call the Merkaba the chariot of God, they're referring to how a spirit puts its God, its imagination, its fire inside of a chair, inside of a chi air, which is air, the communication, the mind. The mind is chi, the mind is air. So when you as a spirit put your imagination inside of your chi, inside of your air, inside of your chair, and you sit inside of yourself, that means that you just made a mind, because sitting inside of yourself was your soul then. So that's how you as God, you are the fire. So you are the spirit, but the fact that you're aware means that you quote unquote feel like God in that way, because you are creating your imagination, you're creating your ability to be aware. So from there, by connecting with yourself, you now created a soul. So that feeling is what makes your imagination matter, which is then what creates the chi that then creates a body. But in the middle of that, right, like that before it becomes actual matter, that's your mind. So your mind is the first matter, but it's light matter. The dense matter is your body. But clearly your mind matters. I mean, my body only matters because of my mind. Everything around us in this reality, all the bodies around us only matter because of our mind, right? What the cup in front of me, the bong in front of me, all these devices in front of me, they only matter because my mind was taught to view them a certain way and I built a certain relationship with them. And they only exist because other minds desired to act out certain things and be able to perform certain tasks. So it's all communication. It's all about us as minds transforming light into something that serves us. And then right there, we're learning about how we serve ourselves. So white supremacists, right, they're using my caduceus to alchemize the environment because they're constantly focused on using indigenous spirits to serve them, whereas they can't even serve themselves. Right, so this is why slavery is so big in all of North, South, and Central America. It's all this spiritual ignorance. White supremacists constantly wanting to make nature serve it, but they can't even serve themselves. Thus, the way that they're making nature serve them doesn't even serve nature. And now they're just poisoning the environment and poisoning themselves because they want to control other people's circumstances so much. And then that's just like the grossest spiritual warfare that we're dealing with, right? Just like pure like chaos at that point. It's really weird, really weird. And this is why symmetry is my superhero. Again, I'm not in control of anything except how I communicate. I'm not in control of whether you believe anything that I've said in this podcast today. I'm not in control of if you even understood my words. I'm not in control of who's listening. I'm not in control of who's actually connecting. I'm not in control of what you do with this information. Just like I'm not in control of the medical industry using my caduceus to capitalize on the chi of everyone by destroying our spines and making us sit and not be able to breathe properly. Trying to block our kundalini flow. So I'm only in control of how I create and how I express myself. And this is wisdom. That's the wisdom of then me being able to consciously do that and come to you and not be a reflection. I really hate that word. I'm a sign. I'm a symbol. I'm a symmetry, sign, and symbol. All right, these C words: sign with a CY, symbol with a CY, symmetry with a CY. Do you see why I'm here? That's the point of the CY, the symmetry, so you can see why. CY my tree. CY my tree is planted for you. The symmetry, CY my tree is planted, is for you. It's so you can breathe in these leaves, so you can get high, so you can elevate, so we can all connect and have fun. Because consent is everything. To see another spirit broaching other people's consent, to see consent broached in any way makes me more angry than anything I can imagine. Like the things, there's nothing else. The angriest I can possibly be is when I see someone's consent getting taken away. And I mean, that's what all this slavery stuff has been. And it's just, we're at this point now that people's minds, they're so mentally manipulated into thinking that they're not having their consent taken away, that they let their consent be taken away. I definitely had no option growing up. Like, from being born out the womb, I had no option whether I was allowed to go to school. I was not allowed to choose whether I went to grade school or high school or to hospitals or through the system or really to college. Like, the whole point was that I was forced to go to grade school and high school, and I was forced to go into debt in college so that I could then get into the system, because this is the new wave of white supremacy, what it has been. It's using a number to colonize land that the people who made up this number don't own. But they made up an idea that allows them to take other people's ideas that were actually created. And that's the extent of white supremacy. Or they'll use ideas to take other people's ideas, and then they're going to say that that makes them creative. All while saying that they're not actually creative, because everything is one God anyway. Oh my gosh, bro. So it's important that you know that you're dying right now, and that when you die, you're not going to go anywhere. And I mean, okay, when you die, you're just going to be born into another space. As in, you're just going to make another body and take your mind into that awareness. But then also, since it's a new body of water, basically, like since it's new memories, you'll very well forget a lot of this life. I mean, that's the point of like forgetting things in each lifetime, is that these are all lots of memories that would get in the way of the next memory. If you remember all these things that happen in one body of water, then you're going to block the way that you flow in this next body of water. So it is this balance of how spirits create a relationship inside of themselves. So this is why everything's communication. You are communicating with yourself to constantly wake yourself up every day. Notice, I mean, literally, right? You go to sleep and you wake up every day as a spirit in a body. You dream when you go to sleep, and you wake up and you stop dreaming, and then you bring your dreams to reality. And now you live out your life after you dreamed all that stuff. And it's just the representation of how you as a spirit, when you are creating a body to connect with other spirits, that body still has to connect with itself. So when you go to sleep, that's your time to connect with yourself versus connecting with the universe. When you're awake, you're connecting with the universe, right? That's everything outside of you. Everything outside of you. That's, here we are, right? Like, you're hearing me because you're connecting with the universe. When you go to sleep, you can't hear anyone but who? You, right? You're God. You're an individual. You're God alone in your own imagination. And as God alone in your imagination, you're infinitely creative, and that's infinitely hermetic. But now you have to get somatic, because it takes creating a circumstance where you can connect your imagination with others, which is always going to be limiting, or else it's just not relatable, right? We can't, There's no structure there. So the caduceus has wings at the top and the snake's going up, because when you have sex with yourself and you connect with yourself and you do that deeply and like long and hard enough, and you just really focus on raising your kundalini energy type deal, then you're able to take your mind from your body and realize that by splitting your mind from your earth body, you're able to navigate totally different spaces, totally different simulations in the universe, and thus be aware of entirely different realms, realities, and existences. And then from there, you're able to communicate with way more spirits on a way more conscious and awesome level than how you are communicating in the physical body that you're in. So if you believe that you are just the body, like if I really bring my awareness like down to like, okay, back in like who I was in high school or grade school, right, where I'm not communicating with my spirit family every day, and on like all this interdimensional stuff that I'm on every day. I can remember that. Like I remember how being limited to the body just meant that I was forced to only be able to communicate with the people around me. And then it's a completely like, it's very limiting. It's a very limiting human experience, not being able to communicate with whatever spirits that you want at any time. And that's the point then of the universe versus a simulation, water versus earth. So you as a spirit, you have your own soul, and your soul is what is powering and what makes all of your bodies possible. So one could say that the past and the future are happening at once. To me, that's not practical. It doesn't make sense to think of life like that. But I mean, it's still true, you know? It just doesn't make sense in terms of if the future is happening now, then where is it? You know, because the future is like literally, where is it? Like, because the past, we can look at the past. I'm looking at the past right now. Everything that I'm looking at is literally light that took time to travel to my eyes, thus it's in the past. When I look at stars in the night sky, right, that's the past. So everything that we're building upon right now is only coming from the past. We're clearly going into the future, but the future is like the ultimate God. Like that's literally, the future is all of our imaginations together. You know, so like the future is just your imagination, but you're not going to be able to bring that future into the realm that you're in if you're not bringing your imagination with other spirits' imaginations. And then this is why white supremacists are so focused on using movies and all this screen magic, witchcraft, to project stories into our spaces that make us believe their narratives, because they need our imaginations, they need our creativity to create their ugly ass future. And they definitely, the medical industry certainly does not want you to know that you can take your mind from your body, and that the caduceus, the symbol that they love to use to peddle all their oil and chemicals, represents that fact. The caduceus represents how you are actually using your body to ground how you die. So this is why, like, you shouldn't ever be scared of death. Like, death is you becoming more free. The point is that the body is you grounding your freedom into something more structured, because freedom is chaos. So if I had to give it words, I would correlate then the spirit to freedom and the soul to chaos. The spirit is infinitely free. The moment a spirit connects with itself, it is infinitely chaotic. That's what water is, right? So nothingness is freedom. When you're detached, you're actually free. True, just clarity. when you are connected, you're chaotic. You're in water. You're underwater. You're now drowning. So when a spirit is free to connect, they get chaotic. And that's what the universe is. That's what these sirens are and everything, just coming in right now on a hilarious note. To just let us know that chaos, cacophony, sounds, the moment we want to vibe with something outside of ourselves, we get noises like this. We're not in control of spirits outside of ourselves. So when we connect with ourselves, right, that's freedom still. But, I mean, we're not in control of our emotions. We're in control of how we feel about our emotions. But we're not in control of our emotions. You're not in control of how you feel. You are in control of how you feel about how you feel. That's the power of knowing that you're a spirit. This is a Hermetic essentials right here. Knowing that as a spirit, you are the observer. So the moment you feel a kind of way, you can know that you can feel a different type of feeling about that feeling. And this is what real life elemental alchemy is. When you can alchemize whatever feelings that you have going on into something that works for you. And that's literally what art is. And that's what I'm doing right now. All right, lots of feelings and stuff coming up inside of me and all these ideas. And then I feel like connecting with them, and I feel all these different kinds of ways about all these different kinds of ideas. And then it comes out in all these different kinds of words. And here I am just communicating and flowing. And this air, this mercury is then carrying myrrh. This idea is carrying water. So now each word is an idea that's carrying the vibration of my voice, and it combines into energy so that it can impact your atmosphere and you comprehend what I'm communicating. I hope. Yeah, how'd I get here? Just talking about the caduceus and you knowing that you're dying and that your soul is your water. So you always exist inside of yourself. It's just that your body is your ability to exist outside of yourself. And when you want to connect with other spirits, then this is why it's really important to love your body, because your body is literally other spirits connecting with each other on supporting your ability to connect with other spirits. I'm about to say that again. Your body is literally other spirits connecting with each other to support your ability to connect with other spirits. So this is why I then kind of really feel like your body loves you more than you love yourself. Because literally your body needs you more than you need you, right? Like, and that's like the fact then. Like this body, all the spirits inside of your body need you. They need you to keep doing their thing. So they love you more than you very well love yourself, because you don't feel like you need yourself. You don't. As a spirit, you don't need anything. You're the spirit. But if you're a spirit operating a body, then clearly that body needs you more than you need it. And it's the same exact thing with the medical industry, where they're using my caduceus, they're using my body, they're using my creation, my creative property, because they need you to be the spine of their industry. And that's what the caduceus really represents. This is really why the medical industry is using my caduceus, because it represents how they are building their spine by capitalizing on your chi, by limiting the way you communicate. Because the more that they can limit the way you communicate, the more they limit the way we communicate, forcing us to sit all day, every day, the more they can create problems that allow us to connect with them, that allow them to connect with us in ways that make them money. So when they force us to sit all day, and then our spines become crooked and our teeth become crooked, and then we get all these extra issues that we can solve by decolonizing our faces, then we get opened up to way more health problems that the people who made us create these health problems inside of us can come in claiming to solve with all this metal. right? And then that's like all this surgery and all these invasive, expensive procedures that they're doing on people, just based in them making money off of expounding upon a problem that they created. Because the main problem in most of these people's bodies, and basically all of our bodies, is that we were not using them properly up to this point. The body is a product of how the mind has been using it to communicate. So if the structure that we live in is forcing our minds to communicate with our bodies in ways that's not healthy, eating sugar every day, sitting all day every day, taking medication, watching TV, breathing in all these toxins and fumes and garbage, then yeah, our body's going to create problems. Our body's going to have issues. It's inevitable. Like that's what has to happen, because we weren't communicating and using it properly. And then this is then where we have to learn about intelligence and know that, okay, life is complex. Like simulations are complex. Like spirits actively build worlds. I'm in a world with rules. Like this human body has rules, right? Your body has a specific way that it likes to function in order. You're not going to walk on your head. No matter how much you want to, you're not going to walk on your head. Like your feet are meant for walking, so that's just what they'll do. Your head is meant for being aware and thinking and breathing. So the whole point of finding yourself in life is to learn about how spirits are already building the structures that work around you. Which is why the medical industry has colonized my creation and is obsessed with using it, because they love me. They ride Hermes' dick so hard. These colonizers are on Mr. Trismegistus's nuts like no other system in existence. Colonizers call away so much, because all they can do is eat the creations of others and then say that the person they just ate was not creative. So this industry is wild. This is why the medical industry uses the caduceus in a nutshell, right? It's truly all about limiting the way that we communicate so that they can make money off of it. And then the wisdom here is knowing that you as a spirit are using your own body to limit the way that you communicate so you can make it make sense. So then this industry is obsessed with using my caduceus to make how they communicate make sense. And how they communicate is poisoning the environment, forcing us to sit, forcing us to live unhealthy lives so that we create health problems that they can come in and solve. And now they can be like the boys. They can be the superheroes that are saving us from the issues that they created. And when they save us, of course, then they actually make it worse. And they're not actually saving us. They're coming in to create more problems, because that's how they're going to make money, right? That's how they built the system. That's how they're like, oh, okay, we can make spirits need us by limiting their awareness and actively creating problems inside of their bodies and inside of their environments. And then when they react to these problems, we will be there like we did not create them, and instead give them a solution that really just creates more problems. But as long as we keep them unaware, they will be in a constant state of reactivity and forever in hell, and we shall capitalize on the chi of all these sheep. That's how the people who stole my creation view everybody. So, very important that you start fasting if you're not already. Very important that you are aware of this in general, aware of how the medical industry operates, aware of the pharmaceutical industry, aware of why they are so obsessed with riding Callaway's caduceus. They get so much pleasure off of riding Callaway's caduceus. And we just covered all the reasons why here. Honestly, there's even more, but I am going to cut this for now. I will see you next time. Stay breezy. Much love. You are an infinite and awesome spirit. I'm sure your nothingness is so beautiful and unique, I can't even imagine. Talk to you later. Yeah, yeah.